direction, hit you, can play inside or outside. Ben plays low to high, has ball skills. Christian Jones, he's 6'4", he's 230, can bend, play low to high, can come off the edge, can blitz, can play in man. Holmes is the same way. And another guy that when we get some papers in, I'll talk about later, that they're just have technical issues. So I think it's special. Because I think those guys, those linebackers in today's game and the space games are walk-away guys. So you put nickel people in, you put little DBs in, people run the ball on them. You leave big people when they throw it. Well, these big guys that can run and bump and cover, but then still play the run and play in space, they're so invaluable in today's game. And I think all these guys can do that.
How challenging was it putting together this class, given the new staff and the transition? And
it was challenging. The organization of it, just making sure we get the right guys and getting the people to cover early when we had 5 guys to cover the whole group, maintain it, get it to where it needs to go, give everybody the attention they need. And then when you had to go back in, you had to re-educate the kids on who you're bringing in. You know what I mean? You had to almost stop recruiting them and educate them on your people and who's coming, what they're going, who they're going to have coaching them, those type of things. And to me, it's a tribute to our staff and the hard work and the due diligence they put in, the time they put in to do it. It really was.
So Smiley is the only running back on the list, I guess, at least at this point. I know when you got in 2 years ago, you were real excited about having the big back. Can you talk a little bit?
I do. I think he's out there, in our drills and doing things, moving around, can change direction. He dropped 10 pounds, getting him in shape. Because you remember, he played for a year, then he sat for a year, redshirt, because he's got 3 years. So he's going to have this spring plus 3 years coming in, because he redshirted that last year at junior college. And he brings a lot of physicality to the team. He can catch the ball. He's more elusive than you feel. You know what I mean? And when he hits green grass, he can run. He has pretty good top end speed, and I think brings a presence that we need.
What kind of weight do you want him at?
He'll probably stay, and we'll get as I get a feel for him now, but I imagine he'll stay from 234 to 240, 242, somewhere in that range right in there. I would imagine that's off the top of my head.
When you only go after one offensive lineman, are you looking for something particular, or is it just...
No, we went after a couple guys, and it didn't come out, but the one we got, we're extremely happy. I think he's 6'6", he's 300, very broad-shouldered and big, and it wasn't a great need because we still have so many young linemen. Now next year we'll probably have a big need, we'll probably do that. We'll probably put a bigger emphasis on offensive linemen and where we're going in. But we weren't going to sign a lot, maybe 3 at the max anyway, when we're going in. And then at the end it gets back, okay, do we take a second lineman, or do we take a first athlete, or a first corner, or a first receiver, or a first whatever, another linebacker, whatever it may be. It gets back to best player, and we elected to do that some. That's why that class got a little smaller.
Then bringing a junior college defensive back, is that some maturity there?
There's a maturity, and the guy's a heck of a player. You bring a JUCO guy in for one thing, in my opinion. You have an immediate need, which I think we do. I think we need to get some more depth and guys that can come in and play early. Or a guy that can make a difference. You just think he's such a good player, you can't play without him. And I'm gonna tell you, I think he's special. I think he's a big time player. I really do.
What are your toughest battles? Which guys did you have to fight the hardest for?
Let's go down the list. I mean, seriously. Greg Dent was a battle. DJ felt good. Hagan was a battle, believe it or not. Kenny Shaw was a battle. One of the other receivers was. The paperwork's not in yet. Will Tye was a good battle. Cummings, he committed early, but the people still pressed him afterwards. Damian Jacobs, Bjorn, of course, all the linebackers. Those linebacker thing, that was nasty. That got me there. Because again, those types of players in today's game are so valuable. Because some of those guys can put their hand in the ground, they may grow into down guys. Or they can stand up, or on third down you can put them as DPRs, designated pass rushers, do things like that. That group, there was such versatility in that group. Everybody won. All the backers were. It was a definite battle. And our corners were. All of our corners were a big battle. And of course, Fuchs come back to us at the end on the O-line. So there wasn't many we weren't involved in. And when you're in with good players, they're all going to be battles. But I would probably say the group the most was probably the linebackers and a couple of the receivers.
Who was the biggest surprise for you that when the facts finally came through, you were like, weren't really sure?
That's a good question. I said this earlier. I still felt, Christian Jones was still, because it was such a battle to the end, and Telton. It was still, that was a true battle going on over there in Georgia. Fighting for him and trying to keep him in the mix, and then one of the ones we just we got here pretty recently was a pretty good battle too. So I'd probably say them. But you know, the good thing, most of these guys that we committed, a few of them back there, I had some back out, but for the most part, the guys we got were all pretty solid guys and we felt pretty good about. And a lot of the uncertainty really didn't come from these guys as much as the other guys were fighting so hard to get them back that it, you know, it made them rethink things and put some doubt in their mind for a while till they signed that line.
Can you talk about LaMarcus a little bit? I mean, obviously the size isn't what jumps out at you, but just the way he makes.
I'm going to tell you, well, you say that in height, but if you ever see him and you watch him play and how physical he is, I mean, he's short, but he's not small. Big hands, very strong, very powerful, extremely athletic. I mean, has tremendous explosion as an offensive player or a defensive player. He gets up on his big guys and jams them, and I mean, his body is extremely live. I mean, he can flip the field on offense with the ball in his hand right now. You know, on defense, he can run, he can jump, he can adjust, and then he's such a competitor. I mean, that guy, he's one of the great players. A lot of times you get those guys that are so-called great players, and they come to a camp and they'll want to do one rep, and they won't want to go against that guy or, you know, or disprove anything about themselves or hurt their reputation. He's just the opposite. He wants to jump right in the middle of it, and he wants to say, if you're the best, I want to go against you. You're supposed to be the best, I want to go against you. You're next, let's go. I mean, he would play if he was in the parking lot. You know what I mean? He just wants to play all the time and compete. And then I think he's very mature for his age. He gets the big picture of life and what he wants to do and where he wants to go. He is a tremendous kid.
There's similarities with him and Greg Reed.
There are. There are. I mean, those two, they don't back up from nobody. I mean, very, very similar personalities as far as that goes, where they compete and play on the field.
You need that in a cornerback?
You're daggone right. Yeah, you're out there on that island by yourself, and you got to have a short memory. And both of them do. They're the guy, if you beat them once, you'll never beat me again. And saying, instead of getting all soft and saying, I don't want to make another mistake. They're just the opposite. Okay, I'm going to go get a pick. You got me once, I'm going to get 2 picks and make 2 plays and beat you the other way. And you know, that competitive nature of them, you know, kicks in. And you got to, when you're out there on that island now, it makes a big difference.
What about your competitive nature with this recruiting? Your first class as the head coach, did it play out how you wanted, and how important is it to have one of these consensus top 10 classes?
It's great. I mean, everybody says, well, it don't matter where you're ranked. I mean, it really doesn't. We put so much on recruiting, which is true, but now we have to put it on developing the players. That's what we have to put it on right now. We got to develop the players, mentally, physically, spiritually. Every way you can develop them. Put every support system around them, help them, and get them better in everything we do. But, you know, it still says you're out recruiting the right guys and what people think are the right guys and who you evaluate, you know, to be the right guys. And to get those guys, you better be competitive because everybody wants at least the good people. And you're not going to get them all. You're going to lose some. And I think as we get better, and hopefully we can win a few more games and get up there, maybe we can move from 6 to 1. We can move up there and get that. And I don't think we're that far away from that.
Was your experience for recruiting this first recruiting class as a head coach kind of what you expected or any different?
You know, it really was. It never felt unnatural. No part of it ever felt unnatural. And I think one of the reasons being a lot of the offensive guys and some of the defensive guys in the past 2 years, I kind of acted like that, and I would go to see all those guys that we signed and what we did. So I was kind of in a mini role like that in a weird way. But me doing that role for, I don't know if it's as you say, if you just compete the game, you don't realize the moment. You know what I mean? You just got to do what you got to do to go get the players and work hard, and I think that's kind of what happened. But it never felt unnatural to do it. It never felt unnatural to do it.
Jimbo, you've had Jeff Luck on campus for a month now. What have you seen out of him?
What I thought.
Yeah.
More flexible, has better change of direction than I even imagined. Very powerful, can run, but very competitive. You watch him in all of his drills, he wants to be first. If somebody isn't, he'll bump you, nudge you out of the way, give you a little elbow, do the things you got to do, not in a bad way. And a very good leader. Team guy, guys like him, they respond to him. And he doesn't act like a freshman. Doesn't act like a freshman. Again, I don't mean to put pressure on him, but he's exactly what we thought coming in.
And physically, I mean, he obviously is, it looks like he's not a freshman.
He's not in an 18-year-old body. He's not in an 18-year-old body, that's for sure.
How big of a roller coaster was the DeMar Dorsey saga?
It happened so late, you know what I mean? I don't say it was a roller coaster, you know what I mean? That kind of just goes with the territory. I mean, that's kind of how it is. I mean, like I say, you don't get them all you want, and he's a tremendous young man. Wish him the best, and I hope he does well because he's overcame a lot of things in his life to get to where he's at, and he's a great young man.
You mastered the pronunciation of Holmes' last name?
Don't even bring it up. Yeah, you?
No.
Oh, okay. Is anybody in here? If you have, tell me. They did it, I pronounced it out there when I was in the home on the home visit. I'm not gonna try it now. I had it down that night, but I think I forgot it.
What do you think about Holmes as a whole?
Great kid, great.